185 Miles South, a hardcore punk rock podcast.
Hey everyone. To support the podcast, please like, rate, and review on wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe. All that stuff really matters. Just take the extra minute and figure out how to give it 5 stars or whatever. And if you could leave a short little review, that would be sick. I would appreciate it. Also, if you love the podcast, please consider donating patreon.com/185milessouth. That's patreon.com/185milessouth. You can donate $1 a month, $2 a month, or $3 a month. There's different tiers, and eventually I'd really like to do some special things for the people that donate. Also, get at me 185milessouth@gmail.com, or you can shoot me a message through Instagram or through Facebook or whatever. I want to know, who do you want me to have on here? If there's any questions you would have liked for any of the previous guests, I got no problem going back. We can do a little phone follow-up. And especially for the Patreons, anything you guys want, let me know, and I will do it on this podcast. Do you want me to cold call someone? I'll do it. I don't give a fuck. I appreciate all the support. This is another episode. Thank you to Ishmael Hernandez for letting me record in his backyard. Trying to, again, like I said the previous week, I'm trying to do all these in person. I think it leads to a better interview. It's face-to-face. People open up more. It's just more personable. But, sometimes I can have people go to me and I'm set up in a decent space, and sometimes I need to go to people. So this one was taken in Ishmael's backyard again, like we did the previous one. And so there is some noise in the background. It was kind of a windy day, so forgive me. But I think the interview is great. The best story of the interview is in the last 1 minute, so don't give up on this one. It's pretty funny. Funny story from John. And this interview is with John from Ill Repute. And thanks for listening, guys. I hope you enjoy the show. Get in touch. Thanks. Jump right in. We can do that nice soft open that people love.
I like that.
I know, you get your song for the intro.
I know, it's cool.
But of course, who's not going to use it?
Yeah.
Right? It's the biggest no-brainer ever.
Right, yeah, it's like...
Whose idea was that song? Was Oxnard by Ill Repute?
I don't know that answer to that question, because it was... But the funny thing, it was done, at that point, we were kind of making fun of Oxnard.
Yeah, because poor Wainimi.
And, well, there was nothing to be proud of Oxnard for. We were from Oxnard.
Sure.
But there was no, there was no Nardcore at that point. There was but we kind of just all would make jokes about Oxnard.
Sure.
Because it's such a crazy name and this and that. But we had, by the time the song Oxnard came out, we had a pretty good crew of friends.
Yeah.
Because the way we all came together was pretty interesting when we met, like, the guys from Dr. No and all, all that was it kind of came in stages. And
yeah, so what year do you think that starts?
I
guess I should first off say, today we have John Phaneuf from Ill Repute.
Yeah, okay. Hi, everybody. Yeah. Because I think it was interesting, because the whole punk rock thing in Oxnard was... because it was going long before we knew what it was, with the Rotters.
Sure.
And I remember seeing the Rotters spray painted by the Esplanade. It was on the overpass.
Oh, they tagged the overpass.
Yeah, and it's there forever. This said the Rotters.
Wow.
And we didn't know what it was, but I remember thinking, oh, that's kind of cool, whatever it is. But,
yeah.
And I was still, like, listening to, like, non-punk rock. Well, I was like Devo.
Sure.
Devo was big in the skate world and the surf world, and we just loved, Devo kind of changed our world, pulled us out of rock.
Yeah.
Zeppelin and all that, that stuff, and Cheap Trick. I was way into Cheap Trick, and, you would notice, just notice, like, certain songs that would attract my attention in rock, you know, like, where things kind of lost control a little bit. like there was an Aerosmith song where he just started
Okay.
like draw the line or something.
Okay.
I remember just going, wow, something like woke me up.
Yeah, you just latch on to one wild song.
Yeah, and just like certain songs by Queen, you know,
Yeah.
like and so. But anyway, so then that's one of the things you start going backwards and going in. But so then when we kind of got into that, there was Tom Niemeyer, who was in The Accused. I don't know if you knew Tom.
No.
Tom Niemeyer lived in Oxnard, and he was ahead of the game. And I was into, we were all into Devo and this and that, and he gave me a stack of these records one day.
What year do you think this is?
This was I was in high 78 or 9.
Okay, and are you already friends with Jim and Tony? Carl?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not Carl.
Not Carl,
so much.
because Carl came in as a rock drummer later.
I met Jim when we were I was 10.
Okay, great.
He lived across the street. We lived on the military base.
Okay.
But anyway, so I met Tony. We weren't punk rock was not on our radars yet, and and
So Niedermeyer gives you a stack of records.
Niemeyer gives me a. Did you know Tom Niemeyer? Oh wait, yeah, Niemeyer gives me a stack of records, and in that record,
Thank you.
thank you,
Oh, sorry.
was like albums by 999,
Okay.
the Buzzcocks, Sex Pistols, Who Killed Who Killed Bambi, the Rock and Roll Swindle, and Nevermind the Bollocks. And then, so I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was so into that. And then I saw what in the stack was the Dawn of the Dickies.
Oh, yeah. Great record.
And it was and it was the only one that was fast.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, what is that? And
Yeah.
of course I just, and it was silly.
And infectious and catchy.
Yeah, and that kind of was everything. Like even the Buzzcocks had Orgasm Addict,
Yep.
and everything kind of had like so it was tongue in cheek a little bit, and things were funny. But yeah, when that kind of happened, that was I think it was like the summer before my senior year, junior year.
Okay.
And it was on,
Yeah.
like suddenly, and then I forget how we all kind of like got into that together because we were friends, and then how we started listening to that because I was kind of hanging more. I was living like right on like off of Hemlock on Ketch, right, and surfing a lot and like going to Silver Strand and Oxnard Shores and hanging out with different people there. So, it was kind of an interesting time, but yeah. So that's kind of how it happened when Tom gave me those records and it was on. Then we discovered. Those records were already out there. Like I think,
Sure.
What year did Jealous Again come out?
81?
Oh, really?
80? When did Jealous Again come out?
Oh, because Nervous Breakdown. And how about Fresh Fruit for Rotting Veg?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm terrible with that shit.
Yeah. So, but anyway, in that span of
Way to call us out and make us look terrible.
I know. I thought you.
I wasn't there. Jesus.
That's Ismail sitting back.
I was
here.
I was 1 in 81.
Oh yeah. Okay. So it was weird. I mean, it's hard to imagine. I mean, probably for young folks to imagine how remote things were and how you just had to go to record stores and they were only in L.A.
Yeah.
And so Oxnard, it was still pretty far off the punk rock map.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we somehow I remember Jim and this other guy that lived next door, Jeff Thomas, had like even like a. What was that band that was and these weren't punk bands yet, like that band, and they ended up, we just listened to them. Then someone got a Dead Kennedys, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables, and that wasn't their first record, right? Dead Kennedys?
I don't know, but I don't think so.
Yeah, because I think suddenly it was like boom, and then and then the album Jealous Again and
Sure.
The Decline.
Sure.
And all that was coming out, and it was like suddenly like, oh shit! It was, and things everything just changed.
Yeah. Yeah, and so why do you decide to do a band?
Yeah. See the senior year in high school is like when I became a punk rocker at school.
Sure.
And we there was no thought of a band yet.
Yeah.
It was like going into the school as
a punk,
as the only punk. Like there was me, Ronnie Baird.
Okay.
From Stalag 13.
Because you're at what high school?
Wainimi.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think. There was a couple other guys, but Israel was there, and but we just suddenly shaved our heads, and it was like we were from Mars suddenly.
Sure.
And people were, what the fuck is going on
Yeah.
with you guys? And so we kind of, but it could have been, it had the possibility to be very dangerous.
Uh-huh.
But there was one reason why it wasn't dangerous, and that reason was called Eric Edisvold, who was a dear friend of ours who moved away, but he was big. And he had a shaved head. He was just big, and he sold speed to all the Mexican guys in the bathrooms.
Yeah, and he's a big punk guy that protected you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And everybody would, they would just go, "Hey, where's your buddy? Hey,
Yeah.
And so it was simple as that. It was like people did not want to tangle with him, and I don't think Eric fought a lot because he didn't have to.
Right.
But he was this big. He was just this big dude, but he was a good friend of ours. He's I still chat with him online, but it was just that was the thing that kind of gave me the go ahead to kind of express myself,
Yeah.
because I was in no shape. I was not, my self-esteem and confidence were not, I had kind of, my dad did a number on me kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of was digging out from under some shit. So
Yeah, before this, surfing was your passion?
yeah, skateboarding and surfing were, passion. We were surfing a lot. That was kind of all we would do in high school.
What's the biggest wave you ever surfed?
I don't know, 25 foot maybe.
Where at?
Some big ones in Indonesia.
Yeah.
But probably the biggest one's probably the Silver Strand.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to tell. I would say no, maybe in Indonesia, but just the only reason I took that big wave is because there was a bigger one behind it. just wanted to get in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stories like that, but just that was the proving ground, and so that was an interesting thing being part of the surf community and the punk rock world because it. I think in Orange County it was happening. Kind of everything happened at the same time,
Sure.
And it was real interesting because it seemed like in the punk rock world, a lot of people like really dressed the part, had Israel, like eventually when he finally cut his hair and he just, people got really into the thing. But in the surf world, we kind of like everything was toned down a little bit,
Yeah, that image has not evolved too much since forever, right?
Yeah, like this. Yeah, the
jeans
same.
and flannels and flip flops and unis.
Flip flops were a violation back then. I
Were
think.
they?
Yeah, flip flops were a violation, but
a punk violation or a surf violation?
Punk violation.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean there was just like Oxnard. Surfing in Oxnard was I think a little different than surfing. Like UGG boots were like an indication. Is that me beeping?
I don't know.
And
it's not me.
UGG boots and flip flops. I don't know. I don't think people really wore that. But it was all it was just a different scene. But I really felt like it was two independent lives for a while.
Yeah.
Like in this scene and then we'd go to LA and the punk scene and
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, so you're already friends with Jim and Tony, and then you decided to start a band.
Mm-hmm. So I moved to San Diego.
Okay.
I
Killer decision. Best city in America.
Yeah, well, a friend of mine, Jeff Thomas, one of the guys who we got into punk rock together, lived right next door to Jim Callahan, and he lived there before, and he goes, "Oh, you got to come the 4th of July down there. It's super fun on Coronado Island."
Yeah.
So I said, "Okay, let's go," and we both surfed together. So he goes, "There's good waves down there." So we went there, and I stayed for a year. Went for a weekend and stayed for a year. Yeah.
This is another segment in the Nardcore backyard series.
Yeah. It's Saturday, so people are doing
their chores. No, we do what we can here.
But yeah, that was an interesting year, and I was a punk rocker.
Yeah.
And we would go to the shows in San Diego, which were fucking crazy.
Yeah, and so this is 82 in San Diego, 81.
Yeah, 80. Yeah, like I went there July.
Right before
81.
you do Ill Repute, because you do your demo in 82.
Yeah,
so in 81.
81 was we were down there, and we'd go to this place called Fairmont Hall and a North Park Lions Club and the Wabash, and people were crazy.
Yeah, and who's playing?
Battalion of Saints were called the Neutrons.
Okay.
They weren't, and then they became the Battalion of Saints while I was there. But But there, like I think Black Flag's first show with Henry was down there, which was cool. And I was a huge Black Flag fan, but I was a big Dez fan.
Yeah.
And I remembered but I knew SOA, so I knew who Rollins was.
Yeah.
And I think by that time, I don't know, Minor Threat was out already, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
in 81, I think.
Yeah.
80, 81. Dude,
yeah, see,
we're going to make me look terrible on this one.
But anyway.
Because, yeah, if Henry was in Black Flag in 81, then Jealous Again had to be 78 or 79.
Uh-huh. Okay, yeah, so we kind of like and that was the thing, just being hip to the East Coast stuff, because I was really into Minor Threat and really into like some of those bands.
Did you get to see Minor Threat?
Yeah.
There?
What's that?
Did you see him in San Diego?
No, L.A. We
Okay.
played with him at a place in San Pedro. It was
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like us. I forget who else, but I think it was Black Flag and Minor Threat.
Holy shit! And Ill Repute.
Oh yeah, yeah, I think it was unbelievable. There was a couple other bands, but it was at this weird hall in San Pedro. Mm-hmm. I just remember Tony breaking strings and yeah, it was kind of it's all a blur, but
How many people do you think were there?
250 maybe.
Jesus. Is that just because that was capacity, or that's how many showed up?
I think that's just how many people showed up. It was real. It was a big building, you know,
Yeah.
and so it still felt empty.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's so wild.
yeah, and it's so funny because it was like it was early on, and I remember just being super nervous to be on that bill, you know.
Well, yeah. Don't you think you'd be nervous playing on that bill today?
Way more now, yeah. But back then it was, you know, the Minor Threat wasn't. They didn't have they didn't have the momentum like that they do now. When you think about how like iconic
Sure.
they are, they were just this cool band that because I never did drugs or drank. I was straight before Minor Threat, and
Sure.
so I was the weirdo.
Yeah.
But I just had a role model that started me off quick, like what not to do.
Yeah.
But so I was just afraid of becoming that. So I sort of always pushed that away. And then suddenly Minor Threat comes out and it's, oh, that's what John's into. And suddenly like I was like cool because because it was like, oh wow, that's right. And I'm just like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously more, not just the subject matter, but the band was just like, there was nothing like that really.
Yeah.
Just as tight. And
Do you remember anything else from your time in San Diego? Because that's a really early to be there, and we haven't gotten that take yet.
yeah, I just remember meeting some really cool people. Like they were super, like, just like anything. You go in someplace and there's scary looking people, but they're nice.
Sure.
They're nice people. And like Mark Rude, there was a guy named Mark Rude that was throwing the shows, and the same guy threw shows for years and years. Tim something down there, and he had the the Pink Panther bar, but anyway, there was just like crazy shows, like Fairmont Hall was the main venue.
Yeah.
But all the bands would come through.
Yeah.
You know, like I can't remember exactly who, but the local bands there is the main one. Was like the Neutrons, and I just remember it's like people swinging a hammer in the pit once. Someone was like, it was just like over the top. Where you're going, what is going on?
Yeah, someone said on the podcast that when Minor Threat played there, it was like the most violent thing ever, and then Ian never came back until like mid-era Fugazi. Like, didn't even come back with like Fugazi in the beginning.
It was,
because he was so turned off by San Diego.
It was crazy. There was this, and I had been going to L.A. and we were scared. I mean, I should say I was scared. I was scared when I'd go to the Starwood.
Yeah,
like it was so violent, and I was a little dude, and it was, and the pit didn't go in circles. You know, I would be like so into the music. Like I remember the Circle Jerks were playing in some song that I know that when I just went out into the pit, lose control, and I would always come back hurting. You know, like rib shots, and there's big guys, and it's just you know. But anyway, but San Diego was like, there was some real mental cases down there. Like
it's a weird place because I think it's a convergence of beach culture, the military, and then you have like some pretty rednecky stuff like out on the east. Yeah, the east end of San Diego too, and so
Santee.
Yeah, clan tea.
Oh, we had
The clan is still there.
Oh, Ill Repute played a show later there. Like, we ended up coming back. One of our best shows I remember was at Fairmont Hall. And
Okay.
It was so fun to come back there and see all my friends. Oh, I'm in a band now, like a year later or something.
Yeah.
But then a couple years later, we played a show in Santee. And I ended up running from guys with a big Bowie knife, like a big knife. And I ran through this near waist deep water to get
Take
away.
a guess on the year. So a couple years after 82, so 84-ish.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when I'm thinking about it, it could have been when I lived there too.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. It's somewhere close to that. It might have been, maybe we weren't playing, maybe we were just gone to a show.
Okay.
But I remember these guys were chasing me, and they were full on, like, it was like a movie.
Yeah.
I felt like I was in a movie because, like, it was the full, like, Ted Nugent guys.
Yeah.
You know, in a truck. And I just ran, I just ran from them, and they ran as far as I could. They couldn't catch me. And I went down into this thing, and I went through this deep water, and, like, went to the other side of it, and I just went and hid under the car where we were staying. And
You were literally running for your life.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they would have stabbed me, but it was like they have a knife, and they're rednecks, and they're drunk, and
Why did they come after you?
just because I look like a punk rocker.
Oh, okay.
Because, I'd bleach my hair white, shave it and bleach it white, or different lines, or camouflage it, whatever,
Yeah.
just whoever had hair color, like, that was doing something, you just maybe do whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was just enough to, they felt threatened, or they're just bored. But
Yeah.
Clan T.
Crazy. So crazy. So the Ill Repute 82 demos are actually, like, really good for, like, doing demos. Don't you think? Do you listen to it and you're not embarrassed?
No, I can't say I'm embarrassed, but
Yeah, because, well, the reason why I say that is a lot of people, like, their early stuff is just not well thought out. It's not the best stuff, right?
I mean,
But those are fucking good. And there's a lot of songs, and
Yeah.
they're all good. And it's interesting. It's like it's a different Ill Repute take because you're not fast yet.
no.
You're not the blazing fast.
Yeah.
You're still like that mid-tempo punk fast kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah. And it's funny how I know I heard Tony talk about how we didn't have tuners though. We had the tune, so
yeah?
everything was low. I noticed that we weren't at 440. We were like, who knows.
Right.
But I think that, and I listened to those songs, and the things that, I mean, Tony and Jim were playing the instruments, and they were writing the songs. So they wrote all the songs, and then when we would play them live, we kind of work out the melodies and stuff. But I just think some of the lyrics, it's hard, not like we're poets or anything. So if I listen back at some of those, it's just like elementary kind of lyrics, and and it's funny,
Yeah.
some of it's funny, but we were 18, 19.
You're also more of the fun band of the big four, right?
Yeah, I would say. I mean,
Not that it's silly in any way, but it is more of fun. Party Animal.
yeah. Well, and like Party Animal was like, when we were in Mystic, they said, "Hey, we're putting out a record called Party Animal. You want to write a title track?"
Yeah.
And I wrote that song. Like, we were sitting right there, and I had since picked up the guitar, and I had that riff, and then we just all wrote it right there, like the
That's
Stones
great.
do or something
Yeah.
in the studio. And that's what that was just that was like a full Mystic, just a afternoon in Mystic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the whole Oxnard scene, and once we met the guys, and like Dr. No, and I mean, it was fun. It was funny.
Did you put out your demo and then you start playing shows and that's when you start meeting them?
Yeah, I'm trying to think where in that segment when we met people. I think because we were already a band. I know that, and
So you could have met them before you recorded.
but we didn't know any. We didn't. When we started the band, we didn't know that there was any other punk rock bands in Oxnard, and then somehow we went to. I just remember. I'm not sure where we met. I think we heard that someone was playing it like in Camarillo or something. I'm not sure where you guys were playing, and we all went. When I said you guys, I was looking at you. Smile.
Yeah.
But for those people out there, but
For the people not watching this on video.
yeah. So but it was one of those things like, wow. I remember going,
Yeah, so you went to see Dr. No in Camarillo.
yeah, or wherever it was, and I just remember going, wow. There's all and that's where like the aggression guys, and
Yeah.
and but the funny thing is, I knew I knew Mandy
Okay.
before that, and Mandy and Zorba. I used to hang from the beach. I used to go surfing or whatnot, and Mandy and we never like boyfriend and girlfriend or even made out or anything, but there was an attraction there. Like we were really good friends, and then later on, and she was with Henry, so it was like Then after her and Henry broke up, and one night she was sitting close to me, and Henry's like comes in the room, like turns the lights on and off, and I was just like, dude.
Yeah.
But he was smiling. It was all good. But
Mandy's still beautiful, and she's
I love Mandy. Yeah,
mid-50s, right? So prime Mandy, Jesus Christ.
But that's, and I just remember that time and knowing that Brandon was their brother and being into that TV show he was in, and never meeting him for the longest time, because he was engaged, he was still working, I guess, or doing and he was in Camarillo living with the grandparents for a while, which I learned on the podcast, and that made sense why I didn't know where he was. But so then when we discovered there was other bands, it was like, it was awesome. Because we had our own little clique and a couple people, but I have to say, like, the fun aspect is they were so funny. I mean, we just like Ismail and Rick Heller and Kyle, and it was just so fun. And so it was unlike, there was not a fucking macho bone in the crowd, And so it was really fun. And then the Goleta Valley Community Center would happen, and that was like, was super fun. It was like none of that LA scariness, like where, and after a while we got to know, like first show we met John Macias from Circle One. Yeah. He was out there with chains wrapped around him.
He was one of the top dogs of that LA stuff.
And it was the first LA punk show we went to see was the Dickies with the Suburban Lawns, and he was there, and it was kind of like this crossover crowd a little bit, but he was like out there, and then we just were wearing the right uniform, so we became friends ever since, So we kind of got a good initiation into the LA world, but by the time the Starwood, we went to the Starwood, it was just like, things were crazy. Like,
how much later is that?
It's hard to tell, but it had to be within the same year.
Okay.
And, like Fear would be playing, and I remember like before Fear, we just imagined, like we saw Fear on decline and going, imagine if Fear came to the Starwood. Next thing you see a flyer, and oh shit, so we had to go. And then I remember seeing like Tony, what's Tony Adolescent? What's his? I know he went by Tony Cadena just because he wanted to have the same name as Dez when he put the record. So I remember seeing him. He was super skinny, young, and he was just like, the bouncers were always throwing him out, and he was kicking and fighting, and he was so wild. Yeah. But just and Rodney being the Starwood was out of control. Yeah. And John Holmes came down the stairs one time from like the offices, and he was like shocked. Everybody knew who he was.
The porn star?
Yeah. and just people would throw, like the punkers would throw bottles at Rodney Bing and Hyper. He was DJing up there, and they would give him such a hard time.
The Rodney on the Rock dude?
Yeah. So the way the Starwood had this main like dance area kind of thing, or not dance area, but a main club area where he was kind of up on a DJ thing, and people would hang, and there was a bar. But then you went into this big room where the punk rock went down, and it was like all wood, and it's like this weird little doorways, and so it was it was such a scene. So you kind of came in there, and you didn't know where it was going to be safe, And if anybody had long hair, they would just get the shit beat out of them. Yeah. And you'd see them, like you'd see, oh my god, I wasn't like, I didn't have that mentality, but you would see someone and you just go, oh my god, that poor guy is just going to get destroyed. Yeah. But yeah, so we were, this was before the band, and we were going to the shows, and we were, so by the time we got to be in a band, cutting back, I was in San Diego, and then those guys would come, they came down to visit. Okay. And we weren't a band, but we were just friends. They came down, went to some shows there, and then we talked about the band, and I remember someone saying, yeah, Jimmy came up with a name, Ill Repute.
Fucking brilliant name.
And I was the bass player. Yeah. And so I remember I came back, a lot of shit happened, and I ended up just coming back kind of in the whim, and then they were already playing. Okay. Kind of like they had gotten together once or twice, and then I joined, and I couldn't play bass that well, and then we switched. Jimmy and I switched. Jimmy was the singer, and then it was kind of set. Yeah. But
now you record for the demo, and do you put out is there a physical copy? Do you like make copies and put them out to your friends or anything?
No,
You're just sitting on that recording.
Yeah.
And so, what do you think? What's the first recording that people hear of Ill Repute?
Was
the Rodney?
Yeah, because what happened that we made that demo and we gave it to Meg.
Okay.
Who was a good friend of Brandon's first wife. Brandon Cruz married her. It's super. She's still a good friend of mine. Just awesome lady. But it's Jaime's wife, ex-wife, wife.
They're still married.
Okay, they're still married. So yeah, Jaime Hernandez's wife now. I mean, so she's like
she passed it off to Rodney.
Yeah, she passed it off to Rodney, and then and we had all these fucking hard punk songs, and he liked that. That was kind of a fun one because, and the reason that song existed, we would kind of make up words when we went along because we were just, because when we cut our hair and we were just into trouble, like we were just, vandals and spray painting and just doing shitty stuff, just the acting out, throwing rocks at cars, just whatever, just stupid shit. And then someone said, "Oh look," and because we had short hair, "Oh look, they're such clean-cut American kids." Some like woman or something said that to us, and we thought that was funny. So that was the birth of that song. But anyway, so that one, but it was just two chords. It was like a kind of a fuck around thing, and it wasn't really not cool at the time. But we just, we thought it was funny, so we just kind of put it on this demo, and of course he picks that one. And I just remember like my heart sinking, going, "Oh man, why not one of our punk rock ones?"
It's a killer song, but it's not really a representation of what the band sounds like. Yeah,
and it never was.
Yeah,
I mean, when you listen to the demo, I don't think it doesn't really. I don't know, maybe it fits in a little bit.
It still stands out as like the catchy track.
Yeah.
But it fits in on the demo more than it would on Land of No Toilets.
Yeah.
Because talk about a right turn, like.
Well, what happened was we got called into a studio, like a real studio, with Robbie Fields producing from Posh Boy, and it was so funny. We go into the studio and we didn't know what to expect. We'd been in Goldmine, that was it, and it was like all night long. They let you record for $100, and we did like 30 songs,
right?
And the guy was laughing at us, but and mixing it, by the way.
Yeah.
So we go in there, and suddenly this guy's like yelling at us and like telling, "Do this, do this, do this. Okay, double the vocals, do this," and and then Tony was playing the lead. He's going, "No, do it this way, and no, not like this." And some other guy, Jay Lansford from was he Channel 3 or something? Huh? The Crowd. Who was like associated with the label, just kind of came and played this little part, that part, because Tony just had, he has that style. Like I remember we got one review that said the guitar player sounds like he's playing with a brick, and we were like, like anyone else would probably think that was like a cut, and we were like, yeah, that was awesome. but yeah, So when we did those demos, and you hear that, so we put that one out, and then suddenly that was like, and when you hear it, it's like it's bright, and it has all these like multi layers and stuff. So that was on the radio.
Yeah.
And that was on the radio, and we were like we weren't even in the garage. We still sounded like that demo.
Right.
So suddenly it was like, and I think that was maybe a little kick in the pants a little bit, like for to be a little more diligent when in the writing or like something, because we kind of opened the doors a little bit of like what happens when you record,
Yeah, I think it's wild that you sniff a little bit of success on a really catchy song and then you just go as hard as possible on the next record.
Yeah,
it's pretty wild because Land of No Toilets is not a sonically pleasing record.
No.
Like, that's the ugliest guitar tone outside of, like, some sort of grind band.
It sounds like a broken air compressor. Like, it's just like... you can't really hear, like, when the... where, like, the changes are. And, yeah. And did you know this? You probably knew this, but when we went back to mix that, we go back to mix it.
Here, let me guess. So you'll know, I do know some history. Is this the Folgers can?
Yeah.
Awesome. This is a great story.
The bass drum track was gone.
Yeah, so tell the whole story. So you record the whole record.
Yeah, we record.
You're done.
Land of No Toilets.
Yeah.
And what happened was we had a guy who was going to pay for us to go in the studio. And I know Tony talked about this, but it was like our friend Mike Terry from high school wasn't into punk, but just had an inheritance. And said, I think let's record you guys. So we saw somewhere there was an ad or something. It didn't have I don't think Mystic wasn't really even doing punk rock too much. They were doing like some of the like the Flower Leopards and stuff like that. But so it was an ad like record here.
Yeah.
So we went to the big city to record, and while we were recording, they liked it.
Yeah.
To the point where Doug Moody said, "Hey, do you want us to put it out? We'll put it out." And you know, and we were like, "Put it out? Yeah, we'll make record. What? You will press it?"
Yeah.
You know, because we were just doing it to do it.
Yeah.
We never knew how to make records.
Sure.
So suddenly we're like, yeah, for sure. You know, like we were literally out of the garage. I don't know if we didn't have a first. We maybe had one gig or something.
Okay.
A couple gigs. So that's how that happened. We went in there, and then we go back to mix like a week later, and the bass drum track is gone. There's nothing. It's totally quiet. Like the mic wasn't plugged in, and didn't notice it. So he got out a mic, and Carl played on a Folgers coffee can with a spoon, and did the whole everything, the whole record. Yeah,
That's so fucked up. And I feel your pain because that happened on one of the In Control records. We lost a snare track, and so Tony had to go back and do his single hits. Just very hard and terrible.
It probably helps. Gave Carl like a stronger foot or something, you know? Because it was like a good thud, really good thud. But so then that came out, and we had
a record.
A record.
Yeah.
And by then we were not that. I don't think it's not like. I don't know if anyone. I wouldn't say anyone liked us. You know, we had friends, and everybody supported every band, but I wouldn't say that we had anything that anybody like really liked. You know, like at that point, I didn't feel like. But like we had just a few gigs, but it was just what you did. All our friends were in bands. Everybody was in bands, and you know, I was. I don't know if you know, I was the original bass player of Stalag 13.
Okay.
Did you know that? But anyway, so we all, you know, it was what you did. You know,
You have a big group of friends and you're having fun.
and you have garages and people. You sit there and you play. We would practice every night and go through everything on the list, and people would hang out. Like girlfriends would come, and you know, and it was just like there was nothing else to do.
Yeah.
You know, because disco was on the radio, and
Still.
yeah,
83?
yeah. Well, it was it was just not Michael Jackson and
Yeah.
whatever. It just wasn't. There wasn't anything that we wanted to do, and the parties had like all the jocks and stuff. So it was like we
jam.
kind of made our own thing.
Yeah, and you go to write what happens next right away? There's no stopping.
Yeah, there was no stopping. And then we when we had the record, we started having something and people liked it, you know. So that was like where it started, because when they could hear something and then
they started like it after the LP.
and it had Oxnard, and so like the local scene was it was like.
Yeah.
But then when we went back in the Mystic to do What Happens Next, you know, things, you know, we were, you know, everybody's getting more comfortable with their instruments.
Sure.
You know, and tuners were invented, and
Okay.
and you get a little better equipment, you know. But the one thing is, I remember in the studio, I completely changed my singing pattern. Like instead of like na 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 following thing, I just decided somehow like let's try this, and I just did something like on What Happens Next, I think the song, instead of following I just decided to just go for it, and then it was like, whoa, do that on everything.
Yeah.
And so that I think that was one of the things that changed that. So like, and it just kind of added like a just a new frantic kind of.
Yes, it's more interesting vocals.
Yeah, when you hear
so it's a bigger dynamic. It's because you're not following the guitar anymore.
Yeah, and I think that was just the progression there, where that just happened in that studio, and then that record, and the whole scene was growing too. So it was like it was just timing.
Do you remember how long you took to record it?
I would say 2 days.
Yeah.
Because we'd sleep at Mystic.
Right.
And there was rooms and stuff, and I think we would stay there. You know, Doug had his own room there, and so yeah, I think I would have to say 2 days, and then maybe we'd go back to do overdubs.
Yeah, go back and do some stuff and mix later.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, 2 days is pretty insane.
Yeah, because it's one of those things, and it would usually just. I remember the only time I remember. I think it was like Cherokee or something like that. That Carl would like fall to pieces. Like it was like too long. Like because we'd laugh at our. When looking back at our songs, there's so many like breaks and stops because we needed to know where one was. Like if it required like a groove, like and Cherokee Nation had those things like where it would go too long, and so things would fall off the rails a little bit. You know, so in the studio, you know, it was like, you know, then it would be as long as you got to that place where you could, you know, hit the cymbal and you know, okay, we know where we are, kind of thing. But it was I just remember doing that, and sometimes giggling, laughing, like Tony, you know, backing vocals. I would laugh, and you know, that would be the longest thing ever. Sticking this engineer would be going, "Come on, you guys!" But then I remember when we did. When we recorded Oxnard, did you come to the studio? Rick was there. Rick Heller, you know, with all that, you know, at the end when they were going, "There's no girls in Oxnard."
Yeah,
that was Rick Heller.
Yeah, you should tell us what the verse lyrics are on Oxnard, since no one knows.
There's no lyrics.
What do you say?
I just make sounds.
Yeah.
There's a couple. Like I would talk about Sal's Mexican Inn sometimes. And I would
change it.
Yeah, whatever.
But you don't know what you said on the record, or you don't know if you said anything.
No, I didn't say anything.
Because the third line is like unintelligible.
Yeah, I know that one of those lines I talk about like.
It's like, I don't care what people say. Oxnard is a place to be.
Yeah. Then.
Da 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 Wainimi.
Yeah. Well, this one time I said. Like close out barrels at Wainimi Beach or something. Okay. That's one line that kind of came in there, but yeah, it was like
gibberish.
Yeah, just gibberish.
Okay. Yeah,
because it was too fast and it was nothing. You know, it seemed like the right thing to do.
Okay.
And everybody wondered what the hell I was saying, and they pretend to sing along, which I really liked.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to take it?
Do you guys have any input into the artwork, or is that you just let Jaime get down?
Well, that's another thing. Like the cool thing about like meeting, and I know I mentioned this before. Is like Oxnard was pretty segregated. I mean, the surfers were at the beach, and for the most part, you know, people. And but next thing you know, the music. I was you know, you meet these guys, and you end up coming to like Jaime's house by Durley Park, you know, and like and smelling Mexican food and like eating good Mexican food, and, you know, whatever, just like, and then the Filipinos, you know, had all the good, you know, weird food, like, you know, the fish heads and stuff, like
balut.
Yeah, it was like, the pancet and blood pudding, and so anyways, like really culturally fun, but it was like I would think you would never have met the Hernandez brothers, you know, we would if it wasn't for music, you would never have, you know, had, you know, these friendships, you know, so it was really fun, but we would go to their house, like, because I was never in the comic book they made, you know. I knew I didn't collect him or even read him. I would look at him, and because he would like put like me in there, so, you know, like put like little things, and Jaime would point out things. It was always fun to see, like, because they were so good, you know. But anyway, so we would just go there and like, we have a record. We need do you have something? Yeah, come in, and we just look through.
Oh, you just look through stuff and choose. Yeah.
So like when we were looking for what happens next, we found that dude, that picture of that skinhead with his hand, just with a fist. Yeah. And he was just some scary, ugly looking dude. And I didn't know that 30 years later I would look just like him. But anyway, but yeah, so we and, you know, just take it. You know, like it was, you know, it was so awesome. But we just like would look at these things. Yeah, let's go this. And what should we call it? I don't know why we chose what happens next. And, and then just put the Nardcore on his knuckles. Yeah. And then I think also that Oxnard symbol in the back that was all those triangles. I think that was someone who's. I think did Gilbert actually drew that man? Oh, Jaime? Okay. And so, you know, there was a. We just would get. They would just let us take it. Yeah. You know, and it was so awesome. I mean, looking back, I mean, as big of a talent that those guys are. I mean, it's unbelievable. But
were you not worried about? It looks like such a tough album cover for a band that is like. It's not like you guys are. You're not trying to project that.
No, but you know, it kind of the artwork dictated. Yeah. You know, like if it was if he had a cool shot of a poodle, we might have went for it. You know. Totally. No, but you know, we definitely were into being like a hard band.
Yeah.
Like we didn't want to be like a we knew we didn't want to be like a racist or a tough or but we just wanted to be like looked at as a hard band.
Yeah.
And we wanted to be.
Well, the music is fast and brutal.
Yeah, that's what we kind of wanted to be brutal because our favorite music was, but and yeah. So what happens next was like it was just such a moment of time of itself, because the demos were so different. And I could hear like songs like.
Well, Carl changed his drumming.
Yeah.
It went to like faster and gnarlier.
Yeah.
But that started on the 7-inch.
Yeah. And the demos, you could hear like a song that sounds like Social Distortion.
Sure.
And you could hear songs that
You're searching for your sound. That's why it's a demo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So after the LP, you do your first tour, the Scared Straight tour.
Yeah, we'd done.
But first full U.S.
Yeah, that was the one that was first full U.S. Yeah, and I remember Doug Moody going, "Don't go for so long, you guys. You're gonna burn out. Don't, that's too long. You gotta, wait, break it off. Why do you have to do this? But touring was like, and I was torn because when I was touring, I wanted to be back at the beach.
Sure.
And when I was at the beach, I wanted to be touring.
Yeah.
So I was never happy. But
do you remember any stories from that tour that Tony didn't tell?
Yeah, there was some, it's kind of a blur, but one of the funniest things that happened, like this is we were playing a show in Albuquerque, and Albuquerque was always a weird town.
Yeah.
And because you think about this, when we'd come into town, you'd have to go to a payphone to call the find where the guy is.
Sure.
There's no, you have maybe a map, but so we were just so lost. So we finally, I remember going to this payphone, and there was a Native American guy drunk and sleeping in there. And so we finally, we had to use the phone, and he got up and started yelling at us and took off. But so we're at the show, and it's in this upstairs place. A lot of times on that tour and at that time, people didn't know what to expect. The clubs didn't know what to expect. So a lot of times it would be problems. Like they would, these bands are going to play. Then next thing you know, there's a people are slamming and it's over. But I remember this. We're playing on this kind of a nice club on the second floor, and they had mics for the backing vocals, and it was a pretty good crowd, and people were going crazy, and all of a sudden, something broke down. I remember all of a sudden seeing both microphones falling and feeling tugging on this, and I just kind of hold on to the mic, and then it kind of pulls out of my hand, and I see there's this girl with a mohawk through the PA board off the balcony. And all the mics just went down with it. I was like, oh my god, this is great. And it was just like all you hear is like drums and the instruments, it was like, wow. And I remember, so that turned into a big riot. Then there was a band called Jerry's Kids that were from there, and they became friends of ours. And
not the Boston band?
No, it was another Jerry's Kids.
Okay.
And so then we went and played in their living room and finished the set, But yeah, that was...
Poor girl. Did she live?
Yeah, she was the one. She was the one that they was afraid of. I was worried if everyone else would live.
Yeah.
She was out of hand. But the Scared Straight guys were like, they were strict Mormons. I don't know if anybody knew that.
No, it's never been. And never been told.
And the big thing was them like, oh no, there's some girls. Oh look, they were kind of like, they were interested, but they weren't allowed or something. They were really not Scott Radinsky so much, but like Dennis and those guys. And I barely remember this, but. So we'd be chatting girls up and stuff. It's not like, the tours were not, there wasn't a lot of that, but I remember the night when all our stuff got stolen. I know Tony told that story, and I had met this girl, and I had stayed somewhere else, and I came back, and that morning it was like, oh shit, our stuff's gone, and I had a backpack and my skateboard, so I was like the only one who had like a couple bit of clothes, But I remember he had a couple $100 that were tucked into the car seat, and Tony said he had it somewhere, but it was tucked in the car seat, and we finally found the car and some hood, and someone had broken the ignition. We think it was one of the promoters. We thought it was an inside job in the punk scene a little bit.
Why?
I don't know. I just think that maybe someone just
to steal your gear?
Yeah, it's a steal gear, and I don't know. It's hard to tell at this point, but it was a great show. It was hotter. It was like summertime. And I just remember and check this out, we would go on tour in the back of an open truck. Like, we pulled a trailer, and 2 of us would be back in the open truck, like, just baking in the fucking sun. And it was always me and Tony. Tony and I were the closest, I'd say, and I lived at Tony's house after a while, and we did all the band stuff, made the stickers and the shirts. We made the shirts ourselves and answered back letters, and and it was really a great time. But so we would just sit there, and we'd go to. It was so hot. We would go to or rest stops and just get a blanket and get it all wet and just lay under it, and it's just so brutal. And just throw some lake. I remember we pulled up to a lake. We just had to get out. 114 in Kansas, and just like out in the. And we'd just be laying back there, just like, and trucks would go by looking at us like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And then at night, the night driving was fun, in the desert, across the Midwest. And we would I remember just loading up with rocks so we could throw it at signs. And we'd just be bored. So yeah, the tours were pretty rough. And that's kind of what Doug Moody meant, I think. Like, you know what, you guys, you're not going to sustain out there,
Yeah.
So... And sure enough, something would always happen. Like those first tours, we broke down in Arizona, and that one tour of Scared Straight, we broke down in Simi Valley.
Wow! On the way out.
Carl's truck.
You made it 45 minutes.
Oh no, it wasn't Carl because it was because Scott Radinsky drummed for us that tour.
Okay.
Because Carl had a real job, but we ended up just having to rent a station wagon. That's what got stolen.
So that's another piece of information that hasn't gotten dropped. Carl didn't go on that tour. No. Scott played drums.
Yeah, and sang for Scared Straight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was kind of... Because Carl had a job at the city. Carl was, he went to college, and, he kind of did things kind of... Because that was another thing, like, Carl got pulled into the punk rock world, and he was, he was into rock music, and he was a drummer, and...
Yeah.
And the minute he saw a couple punk girls, and he was into it. He goes, yeah, okay, I'm in the band. But you gotta say, like, Carl as like his ramp up, to go from playing like "Can't Get Enough of Your Love" to like hanging with some of the punk rock stuff was took a while. It didn't take that long, but he kind of really jumped on it.
Yeah.
I kind of got to give it to him for that.
So what goes on after what happens next? You guys just tour and play gigs for a couple years, and then do you start feeling burnout? Do you kind of fade out or break up, or what is Ill Repute doing in 86 and 87?
Well, I was it was so funny. The punk scene kind of it changed. It suddenly punk rockers didn't look like punk rock. It wasn't like Black Flag grew their hair. And they like bands like Blast and stuff are coming, and people just looked like normal, like normal surfers or whatever. And so a lot of that just dropped, and but we would still play and go to San Diego and San Francisco, and we were still active. But yeah, I think it's some burnout happened, and then
because why don't you do another record until the transition stuff?
Yeah,
but that's a long time.
Yeah, it is, and I think
4 years.
Yeah, I think what happened was there was the scene got pretty weird. Jocks got hip to punk rock, and there was a lot of fights and gangs, and I remember playing Fenders and just going, it was fight after fight.
Yeah.
And we'd be up there playing, and you look, and everyone's just looking elsewhere. Which is always the case in punk rock. It's kind of the cool thing because it's not just about the band; it's about the whole vibe of the room. But it was there was a weird evil energy down at Fenders,
Yeah.
And so we just kind of started burning out on it, and I think it had something to do with the Goleta Valley Community Center was so fun, and we got for one, I got just hooked on that fun aspect of it, And
then why not just do that?
Because it stopped. They stopped having shows there for some reason. But I don't know. It just seemed like things changed, and I think we just burnt, and I don't remember why we stopped playing. And I think that some band members might have been playing around with some drugs and stuff, I'm not sure. But it just seemed like it kind of fell apart a little bit.
But so there was a couple years stop and transition. You start jamming again.
Oh yeah, transition. There was 2 years of nothing.
Okay.
Where we didn't play or anything, and then And so then there was, and then punk rock just started like either going metal or I don't know. It's just a weird time, and I can't really even remember what was going through our heads. But we just started playing like just listening to like a variety of stuff, like just kind of the punk rock that was coming. Like NoFX was like the only people still playing punk rock. RKL, yeah. RKL kind of like had a little metal twinge to them too, yeah.
Well, just because they were rippers.
Yeah, they were super good. I mean,
were they not always in Santa Barbara? Did they move to San Francisco at some point? Someone said that.
Well, I know Bomber did, but I mean, I don't know if the whole band did, but the early years we would spend a lot of time in Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara was like it had like all the fun going on there. We would go to Ted's and the Red Barn, and and RKL was just RKL was just and they were just such a force. They were so good, and they weren't from Oxnard, but we were reaching out for them all the time.
Yeah,
they were so good, and the guys,
that's so close,
and the guys were so cool, and
yeah.
stuff, but they were, Santa Barbara was its own thing. They were they were like the kings of that area, and even though it was so close, but it wasn't, the whole Nardcore thing didn't rhyme, but they never like would ever claim it. Not that anybody, not that it's a weird word to say, but they were like on their own tier,
yeah,
their own pedestal. We kind of all sort of were, and they they had their own sound and everything. They
completely,
yeah.
I mean, that's what's so crazy is that for when all the punk stuff is falling off, 87 is a weird year for like punk stuff. Although for like straight edge hardcore and stuff, it's a huge year. But that Rock and Roll Nightmare in 87, what a wild record.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing for the year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but so as far as Ill Repute is concerned, yeah, I went to this. I started getting into like exploring other music. Like I was really into Soundgarden, like the early SST, that kind of stuff, and I just really liked. And like Jane's Addiction came around, like the early Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like I remember seeing them when I think Keith Morris sang for him the first time I saw him.
Okay.
But anyway, they were just, it was kind of like there was funk in there, and there was this, and then Jane's Addiction had like these different. So there was a lot of different music that and just kind of the punk rock that you've been listening to for the last 5 years is like. It's kind of like on the shelf, and it's kind of done the same. Like you just couldn't, it wasn't sustaining at the time. And I went to the School of Music, and I was exposed to a lot of different kinds of music. And then when the transition stuff, we went into the Mystic and just started like playing around and recording all this stuff.
Yeah.
And we recorded so many songs. And I think we were just like wanted to be in some kind of band, but we weren't doing the work.
Yeah.
Like we were.
Well, it just sounds like you're demoing and dicking around.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what we were. We did Michael Jackson songs. We would do anything like we would just, we were just like, we were just fucking around, and we were kind of like playing around with instruments, and like I'd never played guitar, so I kind of was picking it, so, and Mystic didn't want to put it out, and we kind of understood, kind of thing, and then.
So why did it come out?
I think eventually they just didn't have anything to lose and just put it out.
Yeah. Is that you on the album cover?
No.
Kind of looks like you, though, right?
Does
everyone think it's you?
I thought it was me, but then something made me think that it wasn't me, like the shirt or something I noticed.
Okay. It's a great album cover. That's the best thing about the record.
Yeah, I mean, and it's misleading, and we didn't even. It's like. All the records this would come out, and we would just go, "Oh, look, we have another record out."
Yeah. So that's 89. Do you play any shows after that record comes out?
No, not really. We were kind of disconnected.
Because Big Rusty Balls is 93, so it's 4 years later.
Yeah. So I got out of that music school.
Yeah.
And sort of like was into, and there was like a lot of different music like flying around at that point, like remember like Big Drill Car and all the like there was like post pop punk kind of stuff, no effects and stuff like that. So I don't know which one was it, Big Chief or something with I forget exactly who I was into, but it was just like time to get melodic and kind of like try. So so I was out of that music school, so I kind of knew my way around the guitar. So I said, hey, I remember calling the guys, why don't we get together and just write another record and see what we can do. So we put out a demo, and I remember Fat Mike was looking, Fat Mike was a friend, so we were like, and he was into it, and he was going, yeah, what about, can you guys do like harmonizing backing vocals? He was kind of do all that stuff, because that wasn't really quite happening
So
yet.
this is a demo of before Big Rusty Balls of some of those songs?
Yeah, and there was like a 4-song demo, and Jerry Finn produced it, who ended up doing, Pennywise and...
Do you have it?
The demo?
Yeah.
No.
Who would?
I don't know.
Well, someone's got to find it. Jesus.
Maybe Tony, but it had just like 4 songs or something.
And all 4 songs made the record?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
But then...
Okay, so you shop at the Fat.
Yeah, we shopped at the Fat, and I think he passed on it because I forget what happened. But then that's when Doctor Strange got it, and he says, yeah, I'll do it. So then we went into the studio, and we wanted Jerry Finn to produce it, but he had a producer, so Jerry kind of came with him, to kind of watch out for us, kind of thing. So he came in, and we recorded that at some really nice studio. I forget, it was like a place where like some names had played. It was like a kind of a proper. It's kind of proper thing. So we
You take your time? You take a week or two?
No, we didn't have that much time. I think we just had a couple days again.
Okay.
But we just went and slammed through it, and then came back and did demos. Overdubs and stuff.
And then how do you feel about like the songs that? Is it just if Tony writes a song, he sings it, and if you?
Yeah, that's kind of where it was, and
live, you guys are both playing guitar, so it's not weird.
Yeah, and I liked a lot of Tony's songs were fast and hard, and I really liked that, and I really liked coming up with my guitar lines that would kind of complement that.
Yeah.
And so it was really fun playing guitar. I really liked playing guitar because it was just something new, And,
yeah.
And it was solos, and it was guitar solos back then. So
It's a good record.
I think it's all. I think it's all right. I liked it. It was it was a trip. It was just a weird time, But folks like the songs, But
Do you tour on that record or anything?
that was when I got kicked out of the band.
Okay, so let's tell this story. Tony didn't want to touch it.
Yeah. What happened was I was going to surf in France every summer for at least a month, and I would go there with my friend, Keith Leatherwood and some guys here from Ventura, and we would
For vacation.
Yeah, just go there. And I was working for the Oxnard Mental Health. I was working and I was there for a decade or so. So I would always get a month, and I would go there. And so I had my month, and I bought the tickets, and I was ready to go. And I was really excited to tour because I quit my job. Mm-hmm. I was really excited to tour for Big Rusty Balls because I like the songs I wrote, and I was like super stoked, and we had like a plan. And so I had, it's cool. Okay, I'm quitting my job, going to France for these 3 weeks or a month, and I come back and we hit the road, And then somewhere I remember and Jim was like the spokesman. Jim's a strong personality, and Tony's really non-confrontational, so he's kind of like that in the back, and they're saying, "Hey, we got this offer to play a show at this festival in Oregon, in Portland, and we want to do it, and it's during this time." And I said, I already bought airline tickets, and this was back in the time where you have paper tickets. And,
Sure.
And I go, I already got the tickets and everything. I can't, I spent, hundreds of dollars on these things. And he goes, well, if the band's important to you, you'll make it happen. And I said, it has nothing to do with. I remember the conversation. It was outside of that. Remember that place you'd practice by Salzer's with the railroad tracks? And I remember just going, it has nothing to do with me, with me caring about the band. I go, but it's already set. I just can't make it, And he says, well, you're out of the band.
But it's only one show, and they've done fill-ins before.
Yeah. So I left, and I went to France, and I just remember really distinctly being in France, and I had my return ticket, and I just didn't go back. I stayed there because they had already been out, and I think I checked in with Tony or something or whatever. But yeah, there was no. I was out.
Yeah.
So that's when they just took off, and they kind of did their own thing, and I stayed in France for for whatever, and
How long do you think?
A
few months?
Yeah, just a few months, and it was painful. I was bummed. I was really bummed because I mean that was a big. I was really into those songs. I was into that record. I was into touring. I had guitar gear, and it was like so. Suddenly, I was just that part of my identity was gone. So I just went there, but somehow when I came back, I ended up back in, and we ended up doing some shows for that, but not the tour. The tour was gone, and it was hard for them to pull off,
And you leave again though, because you're not on Bleed.
Oh yeah, that was. What happened there? Yeah, so Bleed, yeah. Yeah, I don't remember what happened. I don't think I was never even in. Tony, I think, wanted to sing.
Okay.
So I don't think I was ever asked to be on Bleed, or I don't even know what happened there. But
you didn't get kicked out again. You just didn't
No.
get a phone call to do the record.
No, it was a totally different thing. I wonder what I don't know.
Because they got that Nashaya dude that was playing the other guitar.
Yeah, and I don't remember what. Oh, no, maybe I never. No, maybe I never did anything until after all that.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I just was gone, and then it just kind of all fell apart. I think eventually Nashaya, and then
And then they did with Joe and
Carl
Forrest.
left.
Carl had been gone because this is with Libke playing drums.
Yeah, Joey Libke, and then eventually Jimmy was gone, and Tony was the only original member. And then when God, I don't remember when. Maybe all the Big Rusty Ball stuff happened before, like, because then we started playing in Ventura, like playing Moggs, and and we would play across. I remember because I would take the guitar on and off. And
I think that would have been the Big Rusty Balls time.
yeah,
Either right before or after the record.
yeah.
So probably right before you went to France.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, but there was, and that was, we would play Moggs, and they would be packed.
Yeah.
And the people would be lining around the shows going, wow. And I remember we would make like $1,000, and we'd be so stoked. It was like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
But the guy was, believed in paying the bands and stuff. But yeah, it gets a little foggy there where, when all that happened, because yeah, life's starting to grab you, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was strange. I think Tony had kids like so young, it was like how he pulled all that off is like,
Yeah.
and working nights.
Do you ever listen to the Bleed record?
I have, but I don't. I remember thinking this is good. It shouldn't say Ill Repute on it because that's holding them back. After what we did with all the transition and the even Big Rusty Balls, it's like it just seems like it's sort of like you're leading people down a dead end road,
Yeah.
and like you're pigeoning yourself. But I guess if I really think that whole thing Tony did, if it had another name, it probably would have taken off.
I love that record.
Yeah.
So.
I don't.
But yeah. And then they did one more after with Joe Rivas and Forrest, The End Now.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if they break up or they just decide to kind of go like they just get you back and you guys start playing shows again, playing all the old songs.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, yeah, I was in this other band for a while, like a band that was a little bit more like Helmet and stuff like that, called Normal Human Speed.
Okay.
And it was with these guys from Ventura, and we just played around a little bit.
Did you record?
Not for anything, but I have a couple songs somewhere on a cassette tape.
Okay.
But we never went and did anything too serious. But we recorded this stuff at the studio in Ventura that Dave Gertzman kind of worked on, but. It was so heavy. It was so fun. I really think that could have been, that had a lot of potential, but the, personnel issues.
But you're playing guitar?
Yeah, guitar and singing.
Ooh.
But it was real syncopated, and I had my top string was like a 60. It was
Whoa.
like, so I would just really like odd temperature.
Hey, you gotta find that and put it online.
And I would have to practice so hard to be able to play it and sing it because the melody line was like this, and then this was really syncopated.
Yeah.
And, it was really fun. It's what I was really into. Like kind of like a lot of the bands like Quicksand and Soundgarden and stuff like that was taking punk rock and just kind of like going somewhere with it. That kind of wasn't metal. I wasn't like drawn to the metal so much, the speed metal, but yeah, it was just a weird time how that all kind of fizzed out. Then we decided to come back and get and you know what it was? It was for Mark Hickey's benefit.
That's when you get back.
Yeah. And,
okay.
And it was right here where we practiced at Jennifer Selby's like back room. And so we call Carl and we get together and we play in this little shack and we're gonna play and we're going through the songs and we're just having so much fun and laughing. Like, why did we do that? Because we had to finish this off, because if it wasn't like, like everything was so like, and so we were really fun and we practiced and played and then before the benefit we decided somebody was throwing shows in Ojai at the Women's Center. So this woman Adriana or something. So we go, let's just play there so we don't go in the Ventura Theater without having another show. We'll play this little show in Ojai, and we go there and we pull up and I just remember like, oh shit, it was packed.
Yeah.
And I was because I guess Mystic put stuff out.
They've been putting stuff out the whole time.
Digitally.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it. I thought that I swear I didn't think it would be like a handful of our friends, a few kids. And it was packed and I was like, oh my God, and they knew all the words. And I was like, oh shit, this is on. So that was after that, it was like, oh, this is what we're gonna do. And then Carl was married and very religious, like really into his what's it called, like your little, I forget what the church, the little like a church thing. It's like I forget the term, but it's and he was involved in I think playing music and this and that. And so he was like, I can practice on this day. And I think his wife was really strict with him a little bit. I think. Yeah. Sorry, Carl, if that's not right, but I remember it's something like that. So that's when I asked Tony, so what about that drummer you had? That other drummer you had, and so I remember going to this friend's warehouse and trying out Chuck. Yeah. And just kind of going, oh shit, he's just a freaking animal. Yeah. And so that's kind of how that. So we started playing again, and that's when there was a need for it, and there was no big Rusty Ball stuff. I didn't have a guitar. We went straight. Everything was 83 or younger, or 84. 84. Yeah. Yeah. And that's funny because your band is like all original members except for Chuck the drummer, but he's been in your band for like 20 years now. He's been in the band longer than Carl is in the band. But then but it's been cool, and Carl would come up and play once in a while. Like one time Chuck got in a little trouble or something and couldn't make a show, and I called Carl, and I go, Carl, did you practice those couple songs? Yeah, I'm ready. I go, good, because you got to play the whole set. He's like, what? So then that was Kathy Rogers' benefit show. So anyway, we Carl played that, so it was fun, but then Carl got a divorce, and I think he really would have liked to have been in the band. By that point, Chuck was solid, and it was set. He wasn't in NorCal at that point. No, he was still around here. He didn't move to NorCal till semi recently, and he would come. He would always come to the shows, and it was always good to see him. But Chuck was such a animal, and the songs like kind of played themselves, Yeah. And I'm sure like Carl now has been practicing a lot, but older drummers, it's hard, like they don't hit as hard, and it's and the Ill Repute set on the drums is a little bit abrasive, It's pretty wild, and so Chuck just kind of he just sort of like he's great. He grooves in and just goes. And I think he plays for every Nardcore band now, doesn't he? Yeah. Yeah. Unsung hero, Chuck. We'll have to get him sometime. He'll have a good perspective on everything. Yeah. He doesn't talk a lot. That's okay. I'll get it out of him. Yeah. We'll just have to. That'll be a whiskey podcast. Yeah. I'd love to hear what he'd have to say. But yeah, Chuck's a great guy and a really good drummer, and part of, a lot of times over the last few years, I would really want to write something new, and like come out with something, but we just have never been able to get it together. Yeah. I got a lot of songs. I remember having some songs, and I remember playing some with Tony, and he's like, because we put a couple on that Nardcore. Yeah, the 30 Years Later comp or whatever. Yeah, and I had a couple songs, and it was like they were like a little involved, and as Tony's like, I don't know if that's like an Ill Repute song. Yeah. I was going, yeah, I know, it's a little bit of removal, but Yeah, so we just kind of decided, we're this novelty. Now we're just playing these songs from back then. We don't play often, but when we do, it's really fun.
It's not a bad place to end,
No.
right? Like,
I mean, I'd look at it, you look back at it all, and it's just nice to play and to have someone to play anything where someone cares. So many.
because you guys still do really well,
Yeah, we do okay,
and it sounds great.
and people
It's a good
come,
act.
People come and it's always off the hook. It's
Yeah.
always fun, and we don't overplay, and we kind of just wait for the kind of decent shows, like playing like direct support for 7 seconds in Orange County or something was like,
Nothing wrong with that.
oh my god, yeah, and then like the show coming up at the Ventura Theater with Youth Brigade and
Yeah,
so well,
packed.
it's gonna be awesome.
Sure.
So so it's sort of comes down to that. We play a few times a year, and a lot of people hit us up, promoters hit us up to play here and there, and most of the time they want us to travel, and people are talking about Japan and stuff, but I don't know if we have any traveling in us like that.
I think go do a week in Japan. That'd be sick.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be fun. We toured, we toured Hawaii, and Tony didn't come, and I played guitar and sang.
Were you a 3-piece?
Yeah.
Holy cow!
It was super fun, but it was awakening, like how much Tony plays. It was totally different. It was
How do you tour Hawaii? Like, what's the circuit?
one show on the North Shore, one show in Honolulu, one show in Maui, one show on the Big Island of Hawaii.
And do you ferry between the islands?
Fly,
Okay.
yeah, and then they set up the gear, they set up the back line.
You just don't bring your
Yeah.
stuff. You bring guitars.
Yeah, so there's a back line waiting for us. And a friend
Yeah.
of mine is a promoter out there, so he set it all up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was
We need that promoter to become a fan of Retaliate.
Well, yeah, I should give you his number. He could go out, but it's a super hard one. You end up just going. You don't come home with any money.
We don't need to.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
get to go to Hawaii.
Yeah, we only do fun stuff like that.
How
Like,
many members are in your band?
5.
Yeah, see, that's hard.
Yeah.
Add another guy.
Yeah.
But it's
But we've done Mexico, and we went to Sweden. Yeah.
But your
so-
stuff, I mean, he does stuff like more like a Retaliate kind of stuff, but he does like some of that heavier stuff does well over there.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
I was just joking.
No, but we should talk to him. If you're listening to this, hit me up. But yeah, it's a rough scene. It's a rough venue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a rough gig over. Like Santa Barbara is always weird, or San Luis Obispo is always weird. It's
Yeah.
it's just you can't figure it out.
Whatever. It just feels good to play in a new place.
Yeah, we played one time. There was like a good crowd. Next time it was like super light, like 70 people come.
Yeah.
And and he's like, oh well, maybe we barely broke even. So,
Yeah.
But it was fun. You guys went, didn't you? Yeah, it's
Yeah, but the day isn't terrible. See, In Control, we used to tour, and it was like really a lot of our shows were shitty. So we would make sure we did fun stuff during the day. Find somewhere to swim. If there's like some snow on that hill over there, we're gonna go sled it.
Yeah.
Because if you have a good day, it's like the show is just a bonus.
Yeah.
Like I feel bad for the bands that go like professional touring like out the gate. And like, oh, we have to get to the show at 3 p.m. and do sound check, and now we're just sitting in a parking lot. It's like you don't get to enjoy the day, and like you're touring around the country, you don't get to enjoy the country.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Like, I don't know. You got to not take anything for granted.
Yeah, and I remember Tony and I, we always palled up, so I remember we're going and snowboarding up on, like, long before snowboards ever existed, there was like a barfoot snowboard with like a rope on the nose.
Yeah.
And we just hiked up the snow, someone had it, and we were just eating shit, but we were just having so much fun.
Yeah.
We used to go to Salt Lake City a lot. We had a good like crew, like we did a lot of West stuff. We did multiple tours of the West.
Yeah.
Like the cities in Arizona, and then Albuquerque, and then like Denver, Boulder.
Did you ever have to travel in the back of the truck when it was wintertime?
No, we never really toured. But listen to this story. This is a great story, and it happens. It's Tony. Tony was dating a girl that went to college at the university in Tucson or whatever.
Okay.
And so we played a show in Tucson and Phoenix, and they're close to each other. Like,
90 minutes.
Yeah. And so it was like summertime, it'd always be raining or something. So we were in the van, and we had a trailer that broke down, and we left it in the desert. And then so we had gear in the back of a truck, and then we were in this other truck that, his his girlfriend was in a sorority, so we're driving between those two places, and we were like sitting like cars were on the freeway back then. I remember looking, and they were under a tarp, and Tony and his girlfriend was sitting under the tarp, and it was like, you know, and it was kind of raining, and it was covering our gear, and all of a sudden something caught my eye, and the tarp like ripped off, and they were in 69. So good. Oh my god. How many times I've thought about that vision and laughed over the last 30 years? It has to be like hundreds of them. You know, like the but that's the thing, like
That's hard to beat.
that's the thing, like every show like you would walk away with something like a story you could tell, like something weird would happen, you know, like something strange. But that one was awesome. Maria Blodgett was her name.
No, just
Remember?
toss it out there. Allegedly, that was her name.
Allegedly, sorry, beep that out.
It could have that wrong.
I wonder what happened to that, you know. But it was, you know, it was early on. You know, that was like this was early tours. And,
That was the best night of her life.
oh man, yeah, to have Tony like that.
Yeah,
You kidding?
dude.
We all wish we had Tony like that.
All right. You got anything else?
I don't know. I guess. I mean, the subject matter could change, and we could go on for hours. But
Yeah.
I think that's maybe a good place to like kind of call it.
Yeah, we'll bring you back and we'll do you and someone else. Do
Yeah,
a tag team.
like talk about like because you know, you think about like Ismail sitting right here, like think about like the whole like the different things of the scene that happened, like the Oxnard Community Center years, and then the Town and Country with She-Man, remember? Like, is that what we called her? Yeah, She-Man, and like so there was like all these different like, and it was like probably like 6-month chunks of things that happened in new venues, and like some bar that lost its liquor license, and so before they were trying to make money, and my brother was booking some shows at this Town and Country bar, and it's just on the stroll, like in the Wainimi Road, like the
All right.
prostitution stroll. But
Back during the wild times.
yeah, but it was just always really never a dull moment.
All right, well, let's do that.
Yeah,
We'll bring you back and we'll do you and Ishmael
yeah.
in a few months.
We can talk about the peace missions. That's a whole nother story. That, you know, because when you weren't playing, what we were gonna do, so we would go out and like explore like these like haunted things in town, like as a group. You know, like it was so silly and so fun. I mean, these guys. That's my thing about like the nardcore scene and like the first generation. You say it was like the comedy, the level of comedy, that the entertainment factor of like you know, like Ronnie Baird and, you know, Ismail and the Hernandez brothers and, you know, Kyle and just like Tony, you know, it was just, and, you know, Henry and all those guys. It's just really fun. I mean, more than anything else, it was just people that were just really, really fucking funny.
Yeah.
You know, like just sore from laughing, you know, like, anyway, but yeah, that's what I mean. It gets lost in the memory, but like, if you had a little panel of people starting to talk and bouncing off, like, oh, remember this show? Oh yeah, that, you know?
Yeah.
It'd probably be some entertaining stuff.
I think we'll do that. Like I said, I'm enjoying doing the one-on-ones because it allows everyone to paint their own picture and to not get overshadowed by another person.
Yeah.
Because if you do two people at once for the first interview, there can be a more dominant personality that takes over. And then I'm only getting one perspective. Yeah. And I want everyone's perspective.
Yeah, because the music stuff is one thing, and then you think about like the personal accounts. Like,
Sure.
Personal accounts of like it'd be interesting to hear like what Dave Hawk has to say, like, and what like, you know, like Amy Cherry or like people who like weren't in bands.
Well, I really do want to get some of those ancillary figures.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, they were equally as important.
no, but
You know, like,
but a lot of times they're paying more attention than you.
yeah.
You know, like I want to get Albert. He did 2 tours of the In Control as our roadie, and then he did a couple with No Motive. So that's just kind of fun. Like, what's your perspective of going on tour with like these two bands that are totally different, and
Like,
the experience is totally different?
John was such a dick. You know?
I know, if that's all it is, that'll be very disappointing.
No, that, you know, because I mean, I always look back and I think about, you know, if, you know, like if there was ever any like wrongdoings and things, you know, but it seemed like it was pretty mellow. I have to say there was, there was excited like some band dramas, but it was just seemed like it was always something to do. There was always somewhere to hang out, and it was always like somewhere to play. Kind of, there'd be spans where like there was nowhere to play in town, and we would just go to shows in L.A. But yeah, there's really it's just a kind of a blur, but it's a good blur.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. That was fun.
All right, that was fun.
All right.